Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway is going to be an amazing fight, ladies and gentlemen, without a doubt. I feel right now within the MMA community, no fighter is getting the favoritism from any one of the fans. I really do feel like right now it's kind of split between the community. There's some people out there that think that Max Holloway is going to absolutely outclass Ilia Topuria, and there's some other people out there that seem like Ilia Topuria is going to outclass Max Holloway. Both these guys are coming off, career defining victories, and this is going to be one of the biggest fights, if not the biggest fight of the year, because there is a lot of hype. And obviously, both of these guys have immense and crazy freaking fan bases behind them. Now, in my honest opinion, I really do feel like one fighter has a better chance of winning over the other, but we're going to go ahead and pretty much save that towards the end of the video. Right now, what I want to cover is pretty much, both fighters, I guess, stats and pretty much their positioning and, how they could pretty much approach this fight against one and the other. Now, first, let's go ahead and look over Ilia Topuria, because I did a complete film study on Ilia Topuria, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to get on my ass for this, but pretty much whenever he was going to fight Alexander Volkanovski the first time, I didn't give him a whole lot of credit. I thought he was one of these, dumb fighters that pretty much try to come to the 50-50 and pretty much try to get a knockout by landing some of these huge blows. But after pretty much watching him for a while, I could pretty much honestly tell you guys that he has a sophisticated game plan. He has some smart coaches, really, really smart coaches. And you can tell that he has a lot of IQ because he finds himself in favorable positions. Now, the way that he does that is by controlling his macro. Now, I know that this is a buzzword that's going on right now. Not a lot of people understand what macro positioning is, but pretty much what macro positioning is where you are in the octagon. Like, do you have a positionally superior position over your opponent? And let's just be honest, Ilia Topuria's macro positioning that favors him is him being in the center of the octagon, him being in the middle, him being straight up in the middle of the octagon. That's where he does his best work, and I feel like we haven't really seen too many, instances of Ilia Topuria fighting from the outside, fighting outside of, the middle of the octagon, pretty much walking around. That's not really his style. He likes to be in the center of the octagon. That's where he does, all his magic, right? And pretty much what he likes to do is he likes to get in the center of the octagon and he will pressure you. But the way he pressures you is not with straight up offense, but it's with threatening offense, right? He threatens his offense. And from my mentor, pretty much, this is just an idea. We could pretty much get into, doing a film study if you guys want to. Let me know down in the comment section below. But whenever you threaten your opponent with some level of offense, the opponent has to react to it, so that immediate threat of reaction could pretty much buy you some time or give you a chance to set up things. So what Ilia Topuria does is that he threatens his opponents from the middle of the octagon with pretty much feints. He'll feint you to the back of the octagon and he'll make you go into a 50-50 exchange. Now, this is why Ilia Topuria is so dangerous. It's because he will make his opponents go into a 50-50 exchange with him, and he is a very heavy-handed fighter. And he is pretty much daring his opponent into going into a skill-for-skill match in the pocket. I know everybody seems to believe that Ilia Topuria is one of the greatest pocket fighters in the UFC right now. It's not just about pocket fighting. It's about how he gets into the positions to, pretty much create scenarios where he's able to fight in the pocket. And that's what nobody seems to be talking about because, the level of conversations within combat sports is so freaking low. Anyways, that's a different topic for a different video. Let's go ahead and kind of simple things down for everybody so we could pretty much get a good illustration of what the fuck I'm trying to say. But anyways, Ilia Topuria has really, really good macro. He'll pressure you to the fence and he'll make you pretty much go in a 50-50 exchange. The once time that I saw Ilia Topuria go off his back foot and pretty much fight on the outside of the center of the ring, he got his freaking head knocked out. He got a freaking heel a heel to somebody's leg right on the side of his head, and he almost got knocked out, and he almost lost his fight. It was against I forget his name, but it was the one and only time Ilia Topuria has ever been knocked down in the UFC. Now, that was the first time I've ever seen something like that happen to Ilia Topuria, and evidently enough, it was whenever he wasn't in the middle of the octagon, wherever he does his most macro positioning to land some offense. Now, what a lot of people don't seem to understand about Ilia Topuria is because he is, threatening with feints to his opponent, that creates a level of defense as well. Because while his opponents are reacting to his movements, they aren't able to set up any offense themselves. So that's the number one thing that Max Holloway needs to keep in mind, is that if he finds himself, fighting on the outside, if Ilia Topuria is pretty much pressuring him with feints, he's either got to do a couple of things. He's going to have to look for complete disengagements, and I'll tell you guys why. So let's go ahead and pretty much look at this mouse pad here, because it's going to be a little bit of a cheap illustration of what I'm trying to say. Imagine that there's a circle here, and that pretty much replicates the octagon. Ilia Topuria likes to pretty much create a lot of his offense from the center of the octagon, and he'll pretty much feint his opponent towards the fence of the octagon, and pretty much bait him to either move, which is a disengagement, or bait him into a 50-50 exchange, which are both bad positionings. So before Ilia Topuria is able to set up some of his feints from the center of the octagon, Max Holloway is going to have to look for complete disengagements to try to set up his own macro positioning. And the way to do that is challenge. He's going to have to freaking fight Ilia Topuria for the center of the ring. He's going to have to fight him for the center of the ring. And it's something that he does really, really well. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that Max Holloway just has to keep in mind, is that he is going to have to reinforce his defense a lot, because as we know, Max Holloway is not the type of fighter. He is not the type of fighter to reinforce his defense at all. If there's anything that we know about Max Holloway, is the fact that he likes to pressure, land, and that's pretty much how he ends up winning a lot of his striking exchanges. Now, this is going to be a completely different fight for someone like Max Holloway, because unfortunately for him, Ilia Topuria is a very, very smart freaking guy, and he has a boxing base, and he likes to stand with that freaking high guard, man. Ilia Topuria is he's not a dumb fighter. I used to think that he was, but he is not a dumb guy, especially after watching a lot of film over Ilia Topuria. I have to give him some level of credit. But I think that he is 100% beatable. The other thing that Max Holloway has to do is 110% attack Ilia's base. He is going to have to attack Ilia's base. Attack his base in every way. Max Holloway, the way to beat someone like Ilia Topuria, you have to be a counter fighter in every sense of the word, being an offensive counter fighter, being a defensive counter fighter, breaking his base and challenging him to pretty much step away from his macro positioning, because that's where he gets a lot of his work done. We've seen Ilia Topuria pretty much challenge other fighters that try to take the center of the octagon. If you guys don't believe me, go watch Josh Emmett, go watch Alexander Volkanovski. Whenever they challenge Ilia Topuria for the center of the octagon, bro, Ilia Topuria's output just skyrockets. It goes up. He starts going into 4-punch combinations, 5-punch combinations, compared to whenever he is in the center of the octagon. We see 1 punch here, 1-2s. He feints 1-2. The output is completely different. So Max Holloway is definitely gonna have to be looking to take Ilia Topuria's macro positioning away, attack his base. What does that mean? Pretty much attack his legs, get him to square up. The way you get an opponent to square up, obviously, calf kicks, leg kicks, attack his abdominal wall. And it's not just like hooks to the body, it's jabs to the body, crosses to the body, long shots to the body to pretty much get his opponent to square up. That's called breaking your base. Anyways, different topic for a different video. Those are all micro, right? That's micro. Hope you guys are learning here a little bit. Micro adjustments versus macro adjustments. Anyways, look, I think that Ilia Topuria, as it stands right now from a striking perspective, because I am more in tune with the striking, I feel like Ilia Topuria probably has Max Holloway beat whenever it comes to the striking department. That's just my honest opinion, because I feel like overall it's harder. It's harder to get a fighter like Ilia Topuria, who is defensively responsible for the most part. I'm not saying that strikes don't get through, and I'm not saying that strikes haven't landed against Ilia Topuria, but it's all about positioning. It's all about positioning. Like I said, Ilia Topuria has been knocked down before, but the context of when he was knocked out is very important. Like I said, the one time that he was knocked down in the UFC was whenever he was fighting outside of the octagon, not in the middle where he usually, conducts a lot of his work. So that's, pretty much important, just as much as, all the other things that Ilia Topuria does. Anyways, um, for my overall prediction, because this is an MMA fight, I don't think that this fight is gonna go to the ground by any means. I don't think that they're gonna grapple. I don't think that they're gonna wrestle. This fight, has been it's been boiling up, man, and I really don't think from a sensationalism standpoint, because there's been a lot of trash talk. I don't expect these guys to pretty much go into a wrestling bout. I think it's going to be a striking bout without a doubt. And from a striking perspective overall, because Ilia Topuria does have a little bit of a deeper, I guess, game plan, or I seen deeper strategies and plans from Ilia Topuria. I think that he's probably going to end up beating Max Holloway. I love Max Holloway. Again, Max Holloway has a path to victory, 100%. If he's able to do some of the things that I'm saying in this video, he's going to be able to crack at the armor of Ilia Topuria positionally, because that's something that we really don't talk about. I guess in MMA YouTube, nobody really seems to talk about positional battles. Maybe that's something that I bring into the game of MMA YouTube. Hopefully, positionally, I feel like Ilia Topuria probably has a superior advantage here. But if Max Holloway is able to, just outposition Ilia Topuria off the get go, and attack his base and pretty much, beat him to some of his macro positioning, I think that Max Holloway has a decent shot. But he's gonna have to work early. He has to work, as soon as the bell rings. He cannot give Ilia Topuria, the center of the octagon, because if he does, it's gonna be a bad night for Max Holloway. That's how I see it. But like I said, my prediction for this fight, I feel like Ilia Topuria has a 60% chance of winning this fight. I give Max Holloway a 40% chance. That's on an overall outlook. But we're gonna see, pretty much how we're pretty much gonna see who's gonna end up winning this fight within the first 2 rounds. That's the way I see it, if there's not an early knockout. But pretty much that's all I have to say in today's video, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. As always, it's a pleasure. Peace out, and have a good one.